Welcome back and a very happy Independence Day to one and all. Now, before we continue our coverage of the Beating the Retreat ceremony, which is expected to commence very soon at the Atari border, let's listen into this exclusive conversation that our legal editor, Harish Nair, had with Justice UU Lalit, who will be very soon sworn in as the next Chief Justice of India. Now, Harish Nair and his conversation with Justice Lalit feature a whole host of issues, including conditions for giving bail, contempt of court, as well as judicial reforms. Let's listen into that conversation that the soon-to-be appointed Chief Justice of India, Justice UU Lalit, had with our legal editor.
With me is the very, very hardworking, gentle, polite and patient and a very firm believer in Nyay Sabke Liye, Justice for All, Justice UU Lalit, who is all set to be sworn in as the 49th Chief Justice of India. Justice Lalit, congratulations.
Thank you.
Please tell our viewers what your priorities are.
Priorities as what? As Chief Justice? Naturally, whatever the Chief Justice is expected to do. So therefore, see to it that the matters which are clogging the entire the board get disposed of at an early date. Naturally, the plan has to be to have those matters which become some kind of an example for. Once you lay down law, then the law as laid down in one particular matter can be followed in successive matters or group of matters which come up, either before this court or which are pending in High Court or District Judiciary. So therefore, first and foremost priority is to lay down law. That's the primary function of Supreme Court, to see to it that all these matters are taken up without any delay. That should be the first and basic priority.
Your Lordship is taking over at a time when the pendency, the judicial backlog has climbed to around approximate 5 crore cases. And at the same time, and most of it has to do with the COVID pandemic. At the same time, Lordship's tenure is also around 2.5 months, 3 months long. But the procedure and measures laid on by the Lordship can help a lot. So how do you plan to deal with it?
Unfortunately, happened is that we have been concentrating only on miscellaneous or what is called urgent work. That is to say, if any stay is required, if any bail is required, so therefore those matters are getting listed. But what are the appeals? The appeals are unfortunately not getting listed, or the appeals are not getting disposed of because of lack of time. So therefore my priority would be to see to it, to chalk out a plan where all the pending appeals at least are given priority, so that that backlog gets cleared completely. So that should be the priority.
Ever since the Lordship has taken over as the Executive Chairman of NALSA, the Lok Adalats, National Lok Adalats have witnessed record participation. So even as we said yesterday, in fact, day before yesterday, in fact, 1 crore cases were settled in Lok Adalat. Before that, around 95 lakh. So how far can these National Lok Adalats be deployed to bring down pendency?
I'll give you an example how it works. Say 138 or what we normally call check bouncing cases. Those are compoundable offences. These are normally the business transactions where the checks are given. Checks, if they get bounced, naturally by mandate of law, that can result in an offence. So many prosecutions get launched on that count. But since the offences are compoundable, people are interested in compounding, interested in settling the disputes. So therefore, through the machinery of Lok Adalat, we try to bring the complainant and the accused together. If they agree and if they settle the matter, naturally one case, which is a criminal case, goes out of the roster of every court wherever the matter is pending. So therefore, this is only one variety. There are MACT cases, there are accident cases, there are insurance cases. So therefore, these are cases which are blocking the docket of the court. So therefore, once Lok Adalat becomes successful movement, And every successive Lok Adalat will see to it that some burden or the other from the regular stream, on the regular stream, is taken care of. That's how Lok Adalats will definitely be useful.
And there's a feeling that the Supreme Court judgments are not changing situation at the ground level. Like people are still being arrested under 66A for social media posts. The Muslim women are still facing the vagaries of triple talaq. Hate speech continues. Prisons continues to be congested, and even now jail and bail is not the actual norm. How do you feel about that?
So you have combined 2 or 3 questions in one. Let me answer one by one. Jail and not bail. This is now the criticism. See, what is happening is many offences today come with a legislative mandate that bail should not be granted to the offenders. Say, for instance, NDPS law or Scheduled Caste, Scheduled Tribes Atrocities Act, or say POXO Act or UAPA Act. So therefore these are various legislations which come out with these what is called the burden which has to be discharged before the bail can even be granted. That puts some embargo on the courts granting bail so easily. It is true that cases like say Sanjay Chandra have decided and laid down that in cases which are not heinous crimes, where the sentence is a term sentence and less than 7 years, then bail should ordinarily be granted after completion of say 6 months of custody. But because of these compulsions, because of these statutory mandates, the trial courts normally do not grant bail. So therefore, as a result of that, today the scenario is that about 90% of our prison population, I'm saying 90% on an average. There are certain cases where the prison population may be lesser than that, but there are places where even 90%, in excess of 90% people are in jail. About on an average 90% prison population is under trials. And I keep emphasizing that if your conviction rate is just about 27-28% or maybe say 30%, which means that out of these 90% who are the under trials in languishing in prison, finally 63 out of them are going to get acquitted. So out of say entire prison population, 60% people finally get acquitted. And that's where we have landed ourselves in. So therefore, this requires course correction on various issues.
Earlier, citizens were even afraid to criticize judgments, forget the judges. But now there's a worrying trend of judges being openly criticized on social media, attacked on social media, particularly by people against whom a particular judgment goes, if a judgment is not the way they had expected. So what do you say about this worrying trend?
See, I always maintain that to the extent a judgment is subject matter of criticism, somebody may, a research scholar, say that, for reasons A, B, C, perhaps I think the judgment requires reconsideration, or the judgment may have failed to notice a binding precedent or a provision of law. Any such criticism is always welcome, because that sort of helps you in correcting whatever mistakes one has committed, and it helps in course correction, it helps in introspection, it helps in laying down something which in future will be in the position of correcting everything. So to the extent that such criticism is within bounds, and with that idea that perhaps what we are doing or criticizing is the judgment, or the principle or the analysis which has been part of the judgment, any such criticism should always be welcome in a healthy democracy. But the criticism of a judge who has rendered that judgment is not a healthy idea. So therefore that's what I can say and maintain.
So one last question, one last request. Your message to the country on the 75th year of independence, which is being celebrated as Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav.
See, my message would be something which NALSA stands for. Nyay sabke liye, Vishwas sabke liye. That's the message which must come from the entire judicial wing of the state. Nyay sabke liye, because that's the rule of law. So therefore, we are here to see that justice reaches every level, every nook and corner, every grassroots. And once it reaches Vishwas sabke liye, that's the zone of comfort, the confidence for every citizen that yes, there is an institution which is judicature, judicial wing, which will always be available in case any emergency or a situation does call for that. So that's the motto, yes.
So that's the Chief Justice of India Designate UU Lalit. Justice UU Lalit speaking to legal editor Harish Nair. Is expected to take oath on the 27th of August as India's next CJI. We'll slip into a short break. More lined up for you on the other side. Stay tuned.